Welcome to Bright Sight, the channel where we uncover the truth, bust myths, and blow your mind with fascinating facts. Today we're diving into 10 completely false facts everyone knows. Those little lies we've all believed for years without a second thought. From misunderstood science to downright bizarre myths, it's time to set the record straight. So buckle up and get ready to challenge everything you thought you knew. Are you ready to find out which facts are actually fiction? Let's get started. It takes 7 years for your body to digest a piece of gum. Actually, gum will pass right through you and leave your body within a matter of hours or days. According to Healthline, the ingredients in gum can't be digested at all, so your body will move it along and pass it as a bowel movement. Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. Mount Everest is one whopping big mountain, but is it the tallest in the world? In fact, it is not. A mountain is highest in regard to how far it soars above sea level, but technically it is tallest from base to summit, and Mauna Kea kills it at being the tallest. Here's the deet. Above sea level, Mauna Kea in Hawaii is only 13,799 feet, but when you count the crazy enormous portion of it that's underwater, it's 33,465 feet tall. Everest, that snobby little upstart, is only 29,029 feet above sea level, with none of it below sea level. But the shame doesn't end there. Mount Kilimanjaro hasn't taken the stand yet. Kilimanjaro is 19,340 feet top to bottom, so it's not as tall as Everest, but Everest is surrounded by the rest of its friends, the Himalayas, all of which are collectively growing by 1/4 of an inch per year and pushing Everest's summit higher. Kilimanjaro, on the other hand, is solitary, rising out from the relative flatness of Tanzania, all on its dramatically striking own. And to add one last contender into the mix, we present Mount Chimborazo, the mountain whose peak is the greatest distance from Earth's center. Since our planet is almost spherical, but not perfectly so, Mount Chimborazo sticks out into space farther than any of the aforementioned mountains. Body heat dissipates mainly through the head. You lose most of your body heat through your head because there are so many blood vessels in your scalp, or because there's not a lot of fat between your scalp and your skull, or because there's a lot of circulation keeping your brain warm, or something. At least that's what we've all heard. That's why you need to wear a hat in the winter, otherwise you'll catch cold. But the sad truth is, you lose just as much heat per square inch through your head as you do through the rest of the body. A fact that would become abundantly clear if you ever tried to scrape the frost off your windscreen while naked. So if you're out on a wintry day and you notice that your head seems to be particularly cold compared to the rest of your body, it's probably because your head is bare and everything else is sensibly bundled up. Putting on a hat will fix that problem. On average, you swallow 8 spiders a year in your sleep. Thankfully, this one's far from true. Scientific American claimed that spiders don't intentionally crawl into a bed because there's no prey and they don't care about humans. Spiders regard us much like they'd regard a big rock. Bill Shear, former president of the American Arachnological Society, told the site. If a sleeping person has their mouth open, they're likely snoring, creating vibrations that warn spiders of danger and scare them off. The Great Wall of China is the only man-made object visible from space. The Great Wall of China gets a double whammy on this myth. You can see other man-made objects from space. It's also pretty hard to pick out the Great Wall of China from any space-based locale. In low Earth orbit, it's next to impossible to see it with the naked eye. Even with a fairly hefty camera lens, it's still challenging to tell if you're looking at the Great Wall or not. There are a couple of reasons this pseudo-fact is so far-flung. For one, its history dates back to well before the space age, so no one knew enough to nip it in the bud straight off. And for another, the Great Wall of China is, well, a giant wall. Being hundreds of miles long, it's understandable people would assume it sticks out like a sore thumb from space. Yes, the Great Wall of China is very, very long. It's also built from rocks collected from all over the local landscape. In other words, ones that are usually the same color as the wall itself. So unless China decides to give the wall a makeover and paint it hot pink, it's going to remain fairly hard to spot from space. Glass is a slow-moving liquid. You may have lived for field trips as a kid, looking forward to a whole day of out-of-school fun and exploring. That is, until you got started on a tour of some musty building that seemed, well, boring. Not even the tour guide's explanation of how the glass in the wavy, uneven window panes has slowly flowed downward over time could keep your attention. Rather than the magical-sounding slow drip of centuries, the reason old glass windows aren't perfectly even and clear is because of how they were made. Until the early mid-1800s, most window glass was made using a process called the crown method. The glass was blown, flattened, heated and spun, yielding a sheet that was relatively cheap to produce. It was also rippled and thicker in some places than in others. In other words, the windows looked that way when they were installed and they look that way now. No downhill liquid flow is involved. Hair and fingernails continue to grow after death. This morbid fact is not true, but the truth is much more horrifying. BBC reported that nerve cells die within 3 to 7 minutes after death, proving that they stop growing. However, the skin around the hair and fingernails retracts after death, due to dehydration, making them appear longer. Funeral directors will apparently heavily moisturize the fingernails to prevent this sight. Different parts of your tongue detect different tastes. Lots of people think different parts of the tongue are fine-tuned to detect different tastes. The tip of the tongue is where you get your cupcake on. The sides are where the salty taste really hits home, bitters in the back, and in between is the sour zone. This fact was the prevailing notion for a very long time. It has persisted in spite of millions of kids in health class insisting that the wooden spoon just tastes like a wooden spoon, no matter how they lick it. More recently, however, we found out that the whole zones theory was pretty much baloney. It turns out people can sense different tastes all over their tongues. There are a few outliers, but for most people, those are the facts. Then there's the fifth basic taste that doesn't get a lot of PR, and that's umami. Auguste Escoffier, the pimpest chef in 19th century France, concocted this fifth wheel in the palate party. Foodies swooned over it. It's been described as savory and meaty, but scientists stuck to the sweet, salty, bitter, sour taste tetrahedron. Even though umami was a familiar taste in Japan, the fifth taste idea didn't get much traction there either. That is until Kikunai Ikeda, a whiz-bang Japanese chemist, decided to get to the bottom of what umami was all about. He figured out the taste came from glutamic acid, and he called it the Japanese version of yummy. No one at the time believed him, though, and it wasn't until the end of the 20th century that scientists decided to look into it. They realized Ikeda was right all along. Deoxygenated blood is blue. Everybody has veins snaking up and down their bodies, and those veins are blue. So it stands to reason that whatever magical and mysterious substance courses through those veins, all right, fine, it's just boring, old blood, is, as a matter of course, blue. But no. Once your blood has stopped by the bank, your lungs, and picked up a withdrawal of cash monies, oxygen, it's flush with greenbacks, bright red blood. Once it's spent a night on the town, circulated through your body, it returns with a massive hangover. The blood has turned dark red, and it goes to curl up on the couch, take another pass through the heart. Basically, the veins are blue thanks to a trick of the light, not the color of what's inside them. Humans have 5 senses. We hear what you're saying, we see your point of view, we feel your pain. Also, you smell bad and possibly taste funny, the latter of which we don't intend to test. But if you believe these are the only 5 ways you can detect information about your environment or alterations to your person, we're going to punch you in the face. There. Boom. You will feel it thanks to nociception, the ability to sense pain. There are lots more too, although the lists vary and the final number of senses tally is in great dispute. There are several boring ones that your body does without you knowing it. So let's skip those. More interesting is proprioception, which helps you pass the close your eyes and touch your nose test. Basically, it's what lets 2 parts of your body connect without visual confirmation. If you're successfully rubbing your eyes in disbelief, you used proprioception to do it. If you accidentally smacked yourself in the forehead instead, you experienced a proprioception fail. Apart from those, hunger and thirst can count according to some, as can feelings of hot and cold. Itch, interestingly, is apparently independent from both touch and pain. It's annoying on so many levels. Which one of these myths surprised you the most? Or is there another fact out there that you think needs debunking? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Bright Sight, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the world of knowledge. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning everything. See you soon.